Come see us on tour in Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Co-Host, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, San Jose, Toledo, Ohio, and Toronto, Ontario. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. I just want to show people this. On St. Patrick's Day, the people of Ireland were waving Palestinian flags next to the Irish flag. So why do the Irish people in general, and you yourself, have such why you support the Palestinians so much?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for supporting me, by the way. I really want to say that because I don't get any support in Irish media. Like, I'm on your show, which I'm so grateful for, and I know what a massive big deal it is. But just to give you context, I don't get on any like national media in Ireland. So just to give you a sense of how craven the Irish media is like. So I'm very grateful for that, firstly. And second of all, yeah, on the Palestine front, because I think Irish people who know their history and are passionate about where they've come from, we're a colonized people. We were the victims. We're not eternal victims though, but we were the victims of the exact same colonial playbook from Britain as the Palestinians are right now. Like, it's the same exported colonial violence, oppression, dehumanization. When we had the temerity to fight back against the British, be it in the south or the north, we were labeled terrorists. So you get the exact same thing with the Palestinians. We used to have a particularly brutal British force in Ireland called the Black and Tans. They're famous in Ireland for their brutality and depravity against the civilian population. The same soldiers, I mean literally the same soldiers, were exported from Ireland to Palestine after the War of Independence in Ireland. So they got the same thugs inflicted on them as we had, the same British thugs. And of course, it's a British originated problem as well because of the Balfour Declaration. So the British duplicity in the Sykes-Picot Agreement ultimately created this fiasco where Britain, which didn't own any land at all and was double, treble dealing behind everyone's back, promised the state of Israel to the Jews, promised to back Arab nationalism, hadn't the power to do either of them, and basically created this situation where the two communities were thrown into this melting pot. And then the British did what they always do in those scenarios. When the going got tough, they fucked off and let the UN sort it out. So we in Ireland identify with the Palestinians because Palestine is Ireland. It's the same story of if you stand up to bullies and you fight back, you're either a terrorist or you're not a worthy victim. The British also did the same thing that the Israelis do to the Palestinians today with us. They decreed that we were subhuman. They used to do these tests. I think it's phrenology, I think it's called. They used to test our skulls, and they decreed that we were a scale like of black. So we were closer to Africans than we were to the, I don't know, pure Anglo-Saxon British white. So we were subhuman to them. I mean, arguably we kind of still a little bit are. And the Palestinians are subhuman to the Israelis, because how could you murder 700 people in 3 days and then go on Twitter and start bitching and moaning about the fact that there's sirens going off in your city, unless you felt that your suffering was more important than theirs? So that's why we stand with them. But aside from all that, even if we didn't have all that history, we stand with them because we're human beings and we've still got souls.
So, I mean, it is a Jewish supremacist state. You can't deny that. And it is every human rights organization. Even when I had RFK, who's a big Zionist, on my show, he had to admit that every human rights organization in the world refers to Israel as a apartheid state. And even there were secret recordings of John Kerry, who was the former Secretary of State, referring to it as an apartheid state because it's an apartheid state. And, you know, many people who I know who've gone there, it's obvious. So you've taken a lot of heat for this. It's funny, I've also taken a lot of heat for it, but some people say I'm not pro-Palestinian enough. That's kind of always got me. But I just want to show, you put out a video and I grabbed some screenshots from it. And this is from the Irish Examiner. So the Irish newspapers are just as horrible as the United States and our news media. They're just as horrible. They're run by the same handful of oligarchs. And it says comedian Tadhg Hickey is doing something similar, re-energizing old grievances. That's what they say you're doing. You're energizing old grievances. And then it says, such romantic camaraderie from Hickey is similarly unhelpful. It marks an absence of something else, the willingness to hold peace above war. So they're calling you the warmonger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. These are, by the way, now the same people, the ruling class in Ireland, who write these articles saying that I'm the warmonger, I'm the extremist. These people are doing puff pieces about the need for young Irish people to join NATO. So these people want, one of the most glorious things about Ireland is our neutrality. We're a tiny little country. We're not going to make any difference in any war anyway, really meaningful difference in terms of personnel or certainly gunfire. So our neutrality is our secret weapon. And they want to throw that away and join NATO for what? Like, because we're not doing enough reading. That's why. Yeah. Because we've been sold the idea that Russia is potentially going to invade Ireland. Can you imagine someone in Moscow going, do you know what, lads? Ukraine's going well, isn't it? Come on, we take Ireland as well. Why? Like, why would they take Ireland? Like, for like easy access to Guinness? Come on, like, and the people wanting us to join NATO, as you say, they say that that people like me, and all I'm trying to do, which I think you're trying to do on your show, is to humanize people that the West love dehumanizing. Yes. That's all I'm trying to do. That's all I'm trying to make sure that Palestinian, Lebanese voices are heard and that resistance movements are heard for what they are. They're part and parcel of the people of those states. They're not like some bunch of lunatics like who just love guns and violence in a cave. We like to believe that in the West so that we can feel better about bombing their women and children and killing them. But they're human beings and they have a right to resist, and I support that 100%. So yeah, I wasn't engaging, in my opinion, in what's romantic camaraderie about the fact that there was a genocide of the Irish and there's a genocide of the Palestinians right now. There's nothing romantic about that. It's just solidarity. And I know I came back from the Lebanon there recently and there was 2 hit pieces about me in national media in Ireland. And the main thing I'm taking from that is I must be doing something right. Well, if the establishment is that bothered.
Well, here's one of my faves. It says, comics flag waving for Hezbollah sums up Irish left stupidity on foreign policy.
Oh, this is the guy whose big argument is that, have you heard of communist Russia, mate? Yeah.
That's his argument.
Game over.
Yeah. Okay. So what was your big flag waving? What wasn't it at the end of, tell people what that situation was.
So basically what this unfortunate human being who's come out of retirement, by the way, to write this hit piece on me is referring to is that I was invited to the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, to the Irish Times and Irish Independent reading.
So he public. So who tell people who that was? He was
Hassan Nasrallah was the leader of the resistance movement in Lebanon. He has been the leader of that movement for, I think, 32 years. People have grown up with him. Coming back to socialism, a lot of his policies are socialist. Hezbollah built schools, they built hospitals. Many of the people in Hezbollah who were murdered by the most moral country on earth there recently with the pager attack, they weren't militants. Some were soldiers, but the people I sat in the room with were, there was an interior designer, there was an academic, there was many children killed. Some of the people who've been maimed or blind, they're now blind for life. They were like doctors and nurses. So again, in the West, we like to have this mentality that they're all bloodthirsty terrorists. They're all up all night scheming on how they're going to make our lives difficult. Whereas actually what's happening is they're living in countries that are being regularly bombed by the West. Lebanon is destroyed by the West regularly. It's been colonized by the West, by the French, destroyed by the Americans time and time again. The people have a choice then, don't they? They can either bow down to the oligarchs and bow down to the West and go, oh, yes, we love you. We love your type of freedom. Thanks for exporting it to us. Could you please stop killing my children? Or they can fight back. So the people who fight back are demonized as terrorists. So this guy is saying that because I went there and my friend flew an Irish flag at the funeral, which, by the way, in the West was depicted as, like, I think 10,000 I saw. There was about 1.4 million people on the streets. And far from being a little gathering of extremists, it was like the largest state funeral in the history of Lebanon, attended by, as I say, 1.4 million people, dignitaries, foreign dignitaries. And just to say again, just to hammer it home, Hezbollah has mass support amongst the people. So they don't see them as a bunch of lads with guns. They see them as the people providing social services to them in the way that the Lebanese government don't. So we just have to give up this Orientalism, this, as Edward Said called it, this Orientalism where stuff going on over there, brown countries and black countries. I don't know anything about it, but I just wish they'd stop, fighting us. Like, what did we do to them? It's a fantasy, and it's all the problems with the world are in demonizing and dehumanizing people in the global south, in my opinion.
Well, it's always, I have to always remind people when they say, Hamas are terrorists, or the Houthis are terrorists. And I say, I have to show them a map, and I show, there's 6 U.S. aircraft carriers right now in the sea off of Yemen. They don't have their ships over here in the United States. They're not in the Gulf of Mexico. They're not off the California or off New York or Carolina. That we're over there. We're the ones over there. We're the terror. We did Iraq. We killed 100%. 1 million people. We did 100%. Libya, turned it into the most successful country in all of Africa. We turned it into a failed state. We put depleted uranium-tipped bombs into their water system. We're the terrorists, right? And now they have open slave. Same thing in Syria. Right now, we got in bed with Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria. We funded them, and now the head of Al-Qaeda is running Syria at our behest. And so we took him off the terrorist list because he's doing the bidding.
Stuck him in a suit.
That's right.
Put him in a suit.
And it's interesting, isn't it, that Al-Qaeda and ISIS never attack Israel? I wonder why that is. Isn't that interesting? It's almost as if the United States created Al-Qaeda, and it's almost as if the Israelis created ISIS. It's almost as if. It's crazy how that works, how they never attack Israel. And right now,
you just got cancelled, my friend. You've just been cancelled.
Yes, right now, in fact, Israel is sharing parts of Syria with the Al-Qaeda, right? So you got Al-Qaeda, you got Turkey, you got the United States, and you got Israel. They have, just like Gaddafi predicted 15 years ago, that 100%. Israel wanted to split up Syria into 5 different parts. They have it split up into 4 different parts right now. And so he was prescient. He knew, and that's why they had to kill him. And that's why they killed Gaddafi. And the propaganda in the United States was he was the madman and he was the terrorist. When in reality, the United States is the world's terrorist. Do a body count. There's no terrorist organization that comes close to what the United States has done in the last 20 years.
100%. Can I recommend, and I will never do this again in my life, can I recommend a sketch of mine to you? Not because of me, but I spent a lot of time with the Houthis when I was in Lebanon recently, and I did a sketch with a guy called Ahmed Hassan. He's going to be the next big thing in world comedy. I want a series with him called At Home with the Houthis. He's so funny. He's amazing. But he did a sketch, and the whole point of the sketch is he talks about why he got into terrorism, right? And he's from Yemen, like one of the poorest countries in the world. And I start off by saying to him, Ahmed, you're a terrorist. How did you get into it? Why did you get into it? And he just says, look, man, I was just bored. I was just bored. I come from this really wealthy country. I'm in my mansion. You know how boring that is. I'm knocking about. There's nothing to do. And I just thought, And I'm like, there's a lot of women in it. Is there? He's like, oh man, so many women in the mountains. Like, absolutely love it. And at the end, he just looks at the camera and I say, have you got any messages to people in the West? And he says, look, I'm from Yemen. You're from the West. I just can't leave you alone. Like, I'm just never going to leave you alone. I just love terrorism. And like, I think there's something from his perspective, right? So like, I spent about a week with this guy. So funny, so kind. All the Houthis are all like Yemen. If you get a chance to meet them, they're just the best of us. Like, they're the best of best people. I'm being told in the West that Ahmed Hassan is a terrorist and that Donald Trump is the leader of the free world. The world is insane, my friend. The world is insane. So I want to do a series ultimately called Let's Talk Terrorism, and go to all these different groups, go to Hezbollah, go to Lebanon, I should say, go to Libya, go to all the people that I want to speak to, all the people that Hillary Clinton specifically didn't want to have a voice. And when you humanize them and hear them speak and hear them laugh and see their lives and stuff, I think then we might finally get the message. I'm not sure if there are any good guys, but we're definitely not the good guys anyway, that's for sure.
Well, I'm sure you'll have a good meeting at Netflix to get.
I was hoping you might represent me, no?
Oh, sure. I'm also ostracized in Hollywood.
Of course.
So just for many reasons, but for opposing the oligarchy of both parties and calling out the ridiculousness of both parties. That gets you. I stand up for freedom of speech, and I'm anti-war. I'm for bodily autonomy, and that'll get you canceled as a right winger these days in the United States. That's
right.
That's It's well. Listen, Tadhg, I really appreciate you making time for us. I hope I get to see you if you're going to be around in Ireland when I'm there in June.
Yes, please let me know, especially Belfast, because I go to Belfast a lot. Yeah, I'll come up and see you. I'd love to.
Yeah, we're trying to set up a date right now. I have a date set up for sure. 11, 12, I think the 13th of June in Dublin, and then we're trying to head up to Belfast after that. So that'd be a great to be able to meet you. Everybody, check out. Tell them your website.
Yeah, so it's tadhghickey.com, and I'm currently cancelled from TikTok, so I'm working on that. But I'm on Instagram, Tadhg Hickey at Tadhg Hickey CML, and it's just at Tadhg Hickey at Twitter. But without getting out of begging bowl, I suppose I do at the moment in time. My only income is Patreon, and I'm hoping to build. I'm writing a full kind of new satire show at the moment, with the help of some people who are basically giving me studio time in their studio and writing full sketches for it and stuff. So if people want to support independent satire, independent comedy, then consider looking at my Patreon. And if you don't want to do that, then please give to some of the many great Palestinian charities that badly need the money a lot more than me right now.
And so Tadhg is spelled Tadhg. So people need to remember that it's Tadhg. That doesn't sound anything like it's spelled.
No, that's how we do. We exclusively have names in Ireland that are going to annoy British people. That's our whole thing. They don't sound like they spell. That's our whole thing. That's resistance too, Jimmy.
Okay. Tadhg, it's been great to talk to you. It's fantastic.
You too, brother. And you too. Keep doing what you're doing.
Right back
you're doing
at
a great
you.
Job.
You too. See you soon.
Take care, bro. Bye.
Come see us on tour in Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohost, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, San Jose, Toledo, Ohio, and Toronto, Ontario. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.